So what is a serialization, guys? What is a serialization? What is a serialization?
Serialization is converting object into a byte stream, like for traveling through the network or for writing into the file.
Mm-hmm.
So for that, the class has to implement the serializable marker interface.
Very good. Okay. Okay. Serialization is the process of converting your object states into byte stream. Why we need to convert into byte stream? Because the object cannot travel through a network from one system to another system when you are accessing other machines as a remote. Through this application, through your Java application, you want to pass one object to other application, and that object has to perform something there based on that object, and something has to be performed, and you want to fetch back the results into your machine, somewhere to display this results. These kind of scenarios we will be using serialization because the object cannot travel through a network. So in that cases, what we will do, we will use serialization. For that we have to implement the marker interface called serializable. So serializable is an interface. That interface does nothing, but it will tell to the JVM this whoever implemented serializable class, this class has a special functionality, like this guy can be convert into bits and bytes, so he can travel through a network. Others cannot because they didn't implement the serializable interface, but this guy can able to do that. But this guy can able to do that. So that kind of flag will be enabled in the JVM. That's the serializable interface. How we did yesterday, because we have only one mission, we're testing in the simple application. We cannot send through any other remote RMI, or I'm not running any RMI or EJB applications to show you the demonstrate how to pass this object to other place and get it done that. So that's why what we have seen yesterday, we have converted object state into bytes, and we have written into the file. After writing into the file, and we also read back from the file, if you guys remember. So we have written into the file, as well as we have uh, read from the file as well. So writing into file is nothing but a serialization. Reading from file is nothing but a deserialization. Any doubts about it? Any doubts, guys? Any doubt about it? So let me show you what we have done yesterday. Then you may whatever the things we have done yesterday. Let me this go here. Eclipse, Eclipse, Eclipse. Okay, so by the time it start, let's have a little discussion. So let me show you here. Okay, let me use our own file, what we were using for other demo purpose. Look at guys here. Now my employee table or my employee class has ID, name, salary, salary, department. Now in this, so if you see yesterday's code, what we are doing, we are serializing complete employee object. We are serializing what does it mean? It means all the fields, your name, your ID, your salary, everything will be serialized. Everything will be serialized. But in this case, let's assume that you have a case like you don't want to display or you don't want to expose your salary as a part of the serialization. You don't want to convert your salary into you don't want to send a salary into through a network to other file, or you don't want to serialize the salary. You don't want to serialize the salary. So what we can do for in this case, there are two options to do it. There are two options to do it. One is you can make the salary as a static field. Other one is you can make the salary as transient. I think ENT, it's a transient. You can make the salary field as before your data type, like a double salary, right? Before double, you say it is a static, or you can say it is transient. As soon as you declare the variable as a static or a transient, that specific variable cannot be serialized. That variable cannot be serialized. If you guys remember yesterday, we have created object output stream and we have written the right object. Right object means you are writing whole object. When you are writing the whole object, all the fields will go. Let's say it is a small case. I have only 4 fields in this. Let's assume that you have a 20 fields or you have 100 fields. So what we'll do in this case? In the 100 fields, you want to serialize only few columns. Only few columns you want to serialize. You don't want to serialize all the columns. What you will do? What are the fields you don't want to serialize? Make them as a static. Make them as a static. So or transient. Static or transient. The static and transient variables cannot be serialized. Are you guys clear about this point? Are you guys clear about the point?
Yes, sir.
I'm hearing only one voice. What is the transient? What is the transient, guys?
If you
Transient
don't
is a
want to
keyword.
send the
Yeah, go ahead, Ganesh.
if you don't want if you don't want to it's a keyword like if you don't want to send an object, if you don't want to send that particular variable to the network, and so we use the transient.
Yes. So if you don't want to serialize a specific field or specific variable, we will declare as a transient. Transient is the access specifier. It's one special kind of access specifier. If you guys remember when we were discussing about access specifiers, I have defined the transient. So this is one of the access specifier or access modifier who will who will restrict the serialization for the specific variable. Specific variable. Let's look at example what we have seen yesterday. Serialization demo. In this you have something called salary. Same example, you try static. What happened? It isn't typed. It is loading actually. It is take because memory is okay. I have declared as a static. My Intel is 8 is eating up memory. Okay. So now let's go ahead. I'm going to execute this because I'm going see if you remember yesterday guys, we have seen output of yesterday's output. Maybe it may be clear, maybe not there. So yesterday you have seen while deserializing, you have seen after deserializing you are able to get your after read object. So when you print your deserialized object, you are able to see salary, name, and everything. But now I made it as a static. Let's look at what it will display. I'm running the program. It is done. The serialization is done, and after deserialization also done. 1 second, guys. I don't think it's refreshed. Let me put a very small number so that makes it clear. Static variable. After deserializing, still it is showing. Let's try to take one variable. We'll see, but it should not be the case. Let me remove the file and recreate. Let me remove the file and recreate. Let me check, is there anything wrong here? Creating this, and I'm creating this. Right click, run as Java application. Surprising. Still it is giving me the static variable should not give me. How come? Let me say instead of static, let me say it is a transient. Let me say it's a transient. Yep, transient is not giving, but why static? Static will not give. Anyway, see here, if you see this, the salary, 0.0, it means it's supposed to be, if you look at here, it's supposed to be 1,999.00. Right now, when I declare it as a transient, when I declare it as a transient, it is showing 0.0 because it is a default value of your salary. Then why it is the static it is showing? Maybe the latest version. I'm sure, guys, I have tried it. The static variables cannot be serialized, and that's not object wise, that's a class level. So transient, anyway, transient will not be serialized. Okay, I will look into that, and I'll look into that. Maybe I'm using Java 1.8. I really not sure, maybe that, or maybe something wrong with my code. So I will look into that later, but that's not the point to discuss here. So what I'm trying to say, when you want to avoid any of the variable, if you want to avoid any of the variable, you don't want to serialize, either you can go with the static or you can go with the transient. Okay, so that's the about this transient variable. And if you look at, let's assume that if you have a easy relation, if you have something called easy relation, what is easy relation? Can anyone tell me what is easy relation? Can anyone tell me what is the easy relation?
It is inheritance.
It is inheritance. Okay.
Like class 1 extends class 2, like parent class.
Yep. So let's assume that here, if you see here is a relation, easy relation. I'm going to show you some example. I'm going to declare a class programmer, or I'm going to declare something called class programmer. Always the class name should be capital. Let's start with the capital letter. Class programmer extends employee, here in our case employee, and programmer has its own, what happened, so program is already there. Okay, that's I'll do anyway, because your parent class has a constructor. No, it is telling that you have to add a constructor. That we will do anyway. So along with this I have something called double, I have something called double bonus. I have something called double bonus. Bonus is fixed. Let's assume that is 10,000 or 1,000, whatever it is. Okay. Now your programmer is not implemented serializable. If you guys see here, he is not implemented serializable, but your programmer is free. Your programmer is freely, you can go for serialization, because his parent has the serialization. His parent has implemented the serialization. So his child can easily go without any problem. He can easily go with the serialization process. He can easily go with the serialization process. So let's look at that. If you want to look at that thing, here you have created employee object, then you create a programmer object. You can create a programmer object, programmer, new programmer. You can take employee ID same. The fields, everything you can take it same. You can take it same, not a problem. You can take the same fields here. I have taken the programmer, so I'm creating a programmer. Instead of passing here employee, I will pass programmer. I'll pass programmer. I'm passing programmer here. I'm also, instead of, I'll reading, let it read from the here only, because this only matters which object you are doing. So which object I'm serializing? The programmer object. So as I said, if your parent is serialized, he implemented the serialized, your child can easily serialize. Your child can easily serializable. So let's go ahead and run this Java application, because your programmer is not added into display. Okay, let me print here. Let me print here. After deserializing, deserializing bonus, bonus. So because my toString method is not implemented, that if you guys able to understand, because my deserialized, my toString method, if I want to print the bonus, I have to print it explicitly, because it's not part of my toString method. My toString method is for only employee. If I have a toString method in the programmer, I could have get this bonus as well, right? So that's why. So I'm printing separately. So let's go ahead and run one more time. Oh, sorry, here also I did the same. Dot bonus. What is this? Okay, sorry. Here because I'm deserializing into downcasting into employee, right? So I should do it for programmer. I should do it for programmer because it does not have a toString method. Because it does not have a toString method. No, it's not that problem. Not that problem. Here this is the problem. It will not show. If it does not have that problem, it will not show this. So let's go with the bonus. Yep. Before we are accessing employee only. Employee in the employee we don't have a bonus, right? That's why it was showing you a problem. That's what before it was not having a bonus in employee, right? The bonus is then programmer. See here, after deserializing, you got your bonus. So it is your programmer child is free. He can go ahead and do without any interruption. He can go ahead and do the serialization. He can be part of the serialization if it is a easy relation. If it is a easy relation. So what about if it is a has a relation? So what if it is a has a relation? If it is a has a relation, your child class, it's not actually child class, the referential class has to be implemented in a serializable interface, or otherwise it will not be serialized. If it is has a relation, it has to be the reference object cannot be serialized. The very simple as that. Clear, guys? Right? So if you are doing a serialization, all the your references classes has to be serialized. As simple as that. If you don't want to, if you didn't do that, it will give a problem. I mean, it will give an exception. You cannot do the serialization. Any doubt about the serialization? Any doubt about the serialization? Any doubt about the serialization?
Veera, like when we use that word static or transient,
Hmm.
we just have to refresh the file or something so that it will be reflected.
It is not like that. Whenever you
Mm.
will rerun the program, it will be recreated. Okay, it will be recreated. So, because if you look at here, we're creating a file. We're creating a file. So sometimes your memory is not loaded properly, memory is not refreshed properly. If it gives some, it may give sometimes it may not refresh properly. That's why we need to refresh your project, just your project. But in the real time is not like that. It'll always every time it will recreate the new file.
Oh, okay, thank you.
It'll get auto refresh. It's in let me put in this way. It is if the file is already exist, it will just it's kind of a deleting that file, recreating a new file. No need to do that because I have shown because I got a doubt like why when I declare the static it was not doing it was serializing. Even when I mentioned the here as a static, it was doing a serialization. I got a doubt why it is doing. I really not sure now also. Let me try now with the static. It should not actually. It should not. If the static variables cannot be serialized, it's as simple as that. So let me run one more time. Let me see whether it is working fine or not. Yeah. So I don't know why, but still it is showing the your your static variables are able to serialize. I need to look at it why it is because of something went wrong here or there. I need to look at that. So let me print explicitly. I don't think it's a problem. I'm just checking. I'm just checking it. No, still it has to come as a 0.0. The salary has to come 0 as 0. You should not come as a after serializing. I'm telling that after serializing your salary should be 0.0 if it is static or if it's a transient. Why? Because if you guys observe here, I have created a programmer object by passing 100 Viraravi and 1999. Then when I pass this, what I'm doing next, I'm creating a file output stream for a file connection. I'm creating object output stream to send a object. I'm writing write object. I'm writing object. Now my Vira object contains ID as 100, name as Viraravi, salary as 1999. Salary as 1999. The salary is, if you look at here, the salary is, it is a static variable. The salary is a static variable. If it is a static variable, it should not serialize. If it is a static variable, it should not serialize. So the object is getting right into file. While it's writing into file, it should not write 1999. It should write only 0.0. Ideally, it should not write any. It should not write the value of the static variable. So I'm really surprised why it is happening like this. So I will look into that. Maybe my code, something I'm missing here. I'll look into that and I'll come back on this. But if you declare as a transient, yes, if it is a transient, if it is a transient, it is not serializing. If you look at here, so if you guys looked at right here, it is shown 1999 when I declare the static. Now I'm going to run this program. I'm going to run this program with the transient. See here, with the transient 0.0. It means 0.0. Why it is 0.0? The default value. What is the double default value? Ideally, what is happening here? Because of he is a transient, I didn't serialize. I didn't write the 1999 value into file. While I'm reading from the file, I cannot read anything. When I'm reading from the file, this one, look at here. When I'm reading from the file, this is writing into file. Input stream, this is reading from the file. Actually, this is writing into file, and I'm reading from the file. When I'm reading from the file, because the salary is a transient variable, the value is not available in the file. When I read back to the object, I'll be having a salary variable. I'll be having a variable, but with a zero, with a default value. The value is supposed to be 1999. That value is not passed to your file because it is not serialized. If you look at others are already serialized. If you look at others are serialized, ID is serialized, name is serialized, except salary. Why? Because it is not. It is a transient. It is not non-transient. It is a transient. If it is a transient variable, cannot be serialized. Even the same way, your static also should behave. I'll see that why it is not behaving that way. Clear about this? Are you guys clear? Are you guys clear about the serialization? If you guys look at here, guys, are you guys clear or not? If you are not clear, I can repeat one more time. Sunil, Saraswati, Sai, Aparna, Rakesh, Raghu, Nikesh, Kishore, Harika. So when you're doing here, irrespective of your transient or whatever it is, you are serializing whole object, right? You are serializing whole object. Let's say I have 100 fields in my file. I have 100 fields in my file. In the 100 fields, I want to serialize only 10. So rest of the 90 has to be transient or static. Transient or static, correct? So we have to mention all 90 transient, 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 which is not a good way, correct? For for that, Java come up with something called externalization. Java come up with something called externalization. What is externalization? It's also an interface. It is also an interface who has two methods. It is not a marker interface. It is a proper interface who has a two methods. What is that? Externalization. That is called externalization. Let me look at this. Yep, that's called externalization. So what is interface is externalization is same as serialization, guys. What is it? If anyone asks you what is externalization, it's also process of converting your object state into bytes, or converting into byte stream. And externalization, you have a functionality where you no need to do serialize the whole object at a time. You can choose the variables, which variable you want to do a serialize. You can choose that variable. That is called externalizable. Externalizable. Who has a two methods. Who has a two method. The methods are write external and read external. Write external, and you have to pass your variable here, and read external. This is output because you are writing out. This is reading, it is in. Okay, here you have a mechanism. Let's say I have a ID, name, salary, department, bonus. In this, I want to only serialize ID and department, only these two. So then you can pick only these two for write. You can pick only these two for read. So you don't need to do others. You have a choice. You can pick which variable you want to do a serialization. Which variable you want to do a serialization. You can do that. You can pick one by one. You can pick one by one. Okay. So please try it. Please try it. It's as similar as your serialization. Please research and find how to do it. It's very simple. Really, it is very simple. I think I was having these examples in my drive. I think due to space I have removed it. Let me check. Is there any other drive I have kept it? Go Java. No, it is not actually not here. I have kept somewhere because this is a different drive. So because of the other drive was full, let me show you here. This drive is full. So it's supposed to be 15 GB. I already occupied 14 GB. So I removed from here, and I think I uploaded or not uploaded. I'm not sure. I did somewhere. It's there in somewhere. I don't know where it is. Okay. Anyway, let me look at in this data from the drive. Um, no, it's not there here. Anyway, I'll upload it for you guys. But you guys try it. It's very simple, as similar as that, as similar as your serialization. Clear? Clear about this serialization and externalization process? Serialization, externalization. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt? Anisha, Ganesh, Harika, Kishore.
No, no, we're clear.
It's clear, right? So can someone tell me the steps for serialization? Can someone tell me steps for the serialization? Can someone tell me steps for serialization? Aparna? Aparna is there?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
So first we need to extend
Extend.
serializable. Then
We need to
we
extend.
have to write. Oh, sorry. Externally, no, it is mutable.
It shows that you didn't did the
No,
experiment. You didn't write the program. Okay. Someone else? Anyone else? Kishore? Okay.
It's a marker interface, right?
You need to extend or I need to implement?
Implement. Implements.
Okay.
Then we have to do the file output stream
Okay.
and object output stream
Okay.
and flash use.
Mm-hmm.
That's for serialization and
Okay.
deserialization.
Deserialization means writing a serialized object back to normal object. From the reverse way of the serialization is nothing but deserialization. As simple as that. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the other two, as I said before, comparable interface and comparator interface. We need to understand more about this. So because it is a little bit important for the collection as well. This is a little bit important for collection as well. Please try to concentrate. Comparable interface. Comparable interface. What is the comparable interface? What is the comparable interface? A comparable interface is an interface which has compared to method, which has a compared to method. What it will do? It will compare the objects. It will compare the objects. Why comparison is required? Can anyone tell me why we need a comparison? So we'll also be comparing with some other people. So we are also comparing with one employee to another employee. Why will compare? What is the purpose of the comparing? Why we need to compare? Why we need to check the comparison? Main purpose. What is the comparison?
Maybe we want to get the same better features when we compare.
Okay, let me put in this way. So we'll compare the objects or we'll compare the things for to keep it in order. Who has to come first order? Who has to go second order? Or who has to go? I mean, based on the comparison, let's a ranking comparison. So why we have a ranking system? Why we have a comparison there? Because who has the best rank, they will go first. Who has the next rank, they will go next. Like it's a kind of sorting. It's a kind of sorting, right? This the same way in the Java also we need to sort some objects or some we need to compare some objects for if these two objects are same, do this. Or if the you're putting all objects into one collection like one array, you want to sort the array. So how will you sort the objects? You sort the primitive numbers. You have that value. You can compare the primitive numbers. Then how you sort the employee? Employee has the ID, name, salary. How will you sort? So it is an object. To sort the objects, to sort the objects, we need a special mechanism that is nothing but comparing. So comparing two objects. So the comparing two objects, we may say that's just how we the strings are comparing. String class is already implemented this comparable interface. This comparable interface, as I said, it is an interface who has a method called compare to method, who has a compare to method, who will take object and who will return integer type. Who will return integer type. We'll talk more about it later. So first try to understand. So now I want to compare two objects. I want to compare two objects based on what? Based on what? Let's say I have employee. I have a employee class. In this I have a ID, I have a name, I have a salary, I have a department, I have something else. I want to compare my employees. Let's say here when I have employee, so we'll create multiple employees, right? I have employee Ravi who has ID is 1, name is Ravi and salary is 1000 and department is IT. Let's say. and I have one more object called Veera. His ID is 2 and his name is Veera and his salary is 2000 and he is, let's say, big data analysis or data analytics. Okay, so now I have two objects here. Now I want to sort them. I want to sort them based on their ID. So first ID has to come first, the second ID has to come second. So because I want to do something, I want to process something for them, for these employees, so I want to keep them in order. So who has to come first in this case? Because we know ID is 1, here ID is 2, only two objects we know easily. So Ravi has to come first and Veera will come next. Or if you are comparing based on the salaries, who has a more salary, he has to come first and the next who has to come later. So let's say this is ID based. We're comparing ID based. So when you're comparing ID salary based, so who has a more salary, they has to come first. In this case, Veera, next is Ravi. Because this comparison is based on the salary, right? So these kind of operations or this kind of comparison we will do using comparable interface. So employee by default himself, he don't have any mechanism to compare two objects. By default, as soon as I write a class like this, guys, class emp int id string name double salary, enough, we'll take only three fields. Okay, so now does your employee has a mechanism, has a sorting by default? He don't have. It is a plain old object, it's a plain Java object, or it is just a normal class. It's an object. He don't have any mechanism. Someone we need to tell that you can compare based on this. You can tell that you can compare based on this. How will you tell? By implementing comparable interface. What is this comparable interface? It is an interface which is coming by default along with the Java in the Java lang package who has compare to method. Let's assume that protected int compare to, who will take the object, O, and here you can compare whether you want to compare based on the ID. Yes, compare based on the ID. You have to write here if condition, else condition. I'll show this code. Okay, not to worry about it. We will write the program as well. So we don't have much time, so I'll just give you an introduction of the comparable interface, then we'll continue tomorrow. So here you are comparing based on the ID. You have to provide something called compare to method. You have to override something called compare to method. We have to provide compare to method. Guys, keep in mind that if you are going with the comparable interface, which is coming from the Java language. It is taking a single object. It means you can compare on existing object plus what was the object you are passing. You can compare with the existing object. See here, if I say this here, this dot id equal to object dot id. If I say this, what is happening? I'm comparing with my current object with whatever object has been processed or provided by others. It means my current object. This always represent what, guys? We talked about this a lot. This represent my current object. This employee object. The object which is coming, from outside, it can be Veera. Let's say this is Veera. So the object which is coming from outside, we will compare that object with my current object. It means you can compare by using only one. You can provide a body for only one comparison technique. That comparison technique based on the ID or based on the name or based on the salary. You cannot provide comparison technique for ID separately, name separately, salary separately, you cannot provide. Why? Because you have to override your compare to method only once. You cannot override multiple times, right? You cannot override multiple times a single method, right? That is the your the overriding mechanism, right? So you can override based on the ID, or you can override based on the name, or you can override based on the salary. I mean, it means you can provide the body for the comparative method based on the salary, or based on the name, or based on the ID. Only one mechanism only can provide. If you are using comparable interface, let's see a demo. I mean, let's see a example tomorrow, and we will see a detail how comparable works, how to write the code for it, and how to execute it, right? So let me show you a small introduction here, introduction program. Then we will see more details tomorrow. Let me create a different package for it. Let me go for package com dot vira dot comparing comparing comparable comparable demo. I need interface, right? So I can fetch the interface from here. Only. Comparable interface is coming from where? Java lang. It is a what type? Template type. So template type means you have to provide the same class. So T means template type, generic. So not to worry now. As for now, I'll explain you in detail later. So there is what is a unimplemented method? Your compare to method. Your compare to method. Your compare to method. Your compare to method. So now you have only one compare to method. It means you can provide a body for only one method. You can provide a body for only one method. That can be based on the ID, or that can be based on their salary, or whatever it is. So let's look at here into ID, string name, double salary. Can have a constructor here. I can generate by using right click. Source generated constructor using fields. Oh, sorry, I have chosen wrong constructor. 1 second, guys. So I have created a constructor for my, what is error? Yeah. So now I have a constructor for comparable demo. So I can create an object here, cd equal to new comparable demo, where I can give 100, where I can give name as Vera, where I can give salary as 1000. Okay. So here I need to provide a body for comparative method. I need to provide a body for comparative method. So this comparable demo is kind of an object. I will take the same type of object only, right? So see here, I'm using comparable. I'll take the comparable object only. So here, let's say it is Ravi. Let's say it is Ravi. Now the Ravi has to come from outside. Okay. Now I say here this dot, okay, if this, okay, first before that I need to, yeah, anyway I'm taking directly, I no need to convert. Normally what we will do here, you have taken the generic, okay, so because you have taken the generic, so it is also by default taking the same class. Sometimes what we will do, so sometimes we will remove this, some places some code will see like this. So in this case here it will be object, sometime it will be object in this case, okay. So if you are going through a generic by specifying the specific class you are going to implement the comparable interface, you can do that. Or some places what you will do, you will not see the open the less than greater than symbol, and here you will be seeing the object. So in this case what we need to do, we need to create our custom, let's say this is object is obj, we need to convert it, okay, we need to convert it. So what we need to do here, if you see here, comparable demo Ravi equal to comparable demo of, sorry, comparable demo, we need to cast it, we need to cast like this. After that only I can say this dot id equal Ravi dot id, okay, I can do like this, return 1, else this dot id, I know guys you guys are get confused here, anyway I'll explain you in detail, not to worry. So we will see in the very, sorry guys, here it should be 0, here it should be return 1 positive number, else return -1. This is the logic, nothing else, this is the logic. So we should have other application code who can sort them, I'll show you that. So how to do that I will show you. So nothing else, we have to create one more object here, you have to create one more object, then you need to you need to pass them through a sort algorithm, or you can have other application who can do a sorting on these objects. There it will automatically calls the comparative method for the sorting algorithm. If you observe here, I have done the comparison mechanism or my algorithm based on the id. So tomorrow I want to, based on the name, you have to change this code. That's the only option left, you cannot you cannot do anything else. We will see in these things very detail, so tomorrow, so not to worry, so it's getting late, I know that. So that's it for today. We will see in detail about the comparable interface. Clear guys? Is this clear?